Hey everybody, it's Tuesday and it's time for Building Wins Live again. So hang on and we'll be right back with our guest for the day. Awesome. So welcome again. I'm Randy, your host of Building Wins Live, and it's Tuesday, and it's time to chat a little industry info and have a great guest today. And we're going to, I think, get right at it with Tim Lord. Tim, come on board, buddy.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, there he is. Hey, brother. How are you, my man?
I'm great. What an impressive graphic intro. That was really nice. Is that a Wes Wyatt production?
That is a WesWyatt.com production. You know, producer, director extraordinaire, as you well know, as he just got done with your show, literally 20 minutes ago.
Yep. And Britney Spears fan. Don't forget to mention that when you talk about.
Well, that is important. But then again, who is not, right?
Right. No kidding.
I mean, does that date us or make us like weird old guys?
Yeah, we're weird old men, no doubt.
Well, we are, but that's okay. I take great pride in that. I spent a lot of years to get to that.
No kidding.
But real quick shout out to sponsors today, the WesWyatt.com. Wes is my director and producer, and we're going to get to Tim in a minute, but he also directs a show just before this one. Hey, good morning, Barry. The Penalty Box with Tim and an equal buddy of ours, Eric Bam. So Wes is a busy man, especially on Tuesdays. And any magic that happens on this show is because of Wes and his expertise behind the scenes. And so he's a ongoing show sponsor of Building Wins Live, as is I'm self-sponsoring at this point, Source One Marketing LLC, which is ibuyfromrandy.com. There we go. Look at that. Just like that, Wes is on it. And Tim, welcome.
Good to be here.
I'm going to give a really quick introduction. Tim is and then I want you to kind of do a little self-introduction of yourself because you would do way better. But Tim is, I keep falling out of my chair. I either need to get longer legs or a shorter butt or something. So Tim and I have been really good friends and brothers for about 10 months now, right?
Right.
We actually, and it's funny as we talk about the virtual world and the new normal, the new whatever, I kind of like to coin the phrase the hybrid amazing, but you and I have never actually met in person. We were supposed to twice, right? Once in New York State when we were both in the Syracuse area, and then you had a little family emergency. Yep. And then I was supposed to come to Kansas City for a summit, and let's just say that didn't work. So
you had a little family emergency.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. That's well put. But the interesting thing about all this, before we even get started, is that in today's virtual world, I don't think I could have a better a friend than Tim Lord. Oh. But yet we've never met in person, right? We've never shared a bro hug. We've never had a beer together yet or whatever.
Nope.
And it just lends to the new world. So, but anyways, with that said, Tim, give us maybe a couple of the W's of the who, why, what, where, when of Tim Lord. Who the hell is Tim Lord?
Well, just a guy. No, I have a 30-year-old ad agency north of Boston, about 30 miles north of Boston. We have an incredible team of people that have been working remotely for the last year and not skipping a beat. We try to stay motivated, helping our clients no matter what they need, from wrapping the outside of buildings to running social media campaigns and everything in between. We've built a reputation as a go-to vendor, a can-do vendor. Our enthusiasm is contagious, and I think that's why we build relationships that last decades.
Nice. So let me get this, see if I get this right. You'll correct me. Nashua, is that how you pronounce the town?
Yep. Nashua, New Hampshire. We are the southernmost city in New Hampshire, about 35 miles north of Boston.
Okay. So that's closer to Boston than I guess I realized you were. So,
Nope.
thus the Boston impression, right? That
Right.
probably plays better than Nashville impressions, right?
Yeah, that's a long story. It's back in the .com era. You remember with the .com, when Bing Bang and a bunch of guys had gotten together to launch a online store for the printing industry, and I was part of that. It did not make it, but I held on to the brand, and we rebranded We then rebranded our existing company to it because it was a stronger name and a stronger design, and there we go.
There you go. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but am I dreaming this? And I do that from time to time, but you got a little acting background too, don't you, Tim?
Sure, it's a hobby. I'm not quitting my day job.
No.
Yeah, I've been since like 2010, been in about, 13, 15 shows, just community theater. I've gotten to sing the national anthem for the Patriots and the Red Sox through with a bunch of other people too. So yeah, a little bit. Like I said, can't be in your elbows up into your work all the time.
Right on. You got to find balance. Balance is huge. Right. So, as I think you're aware, with us knowing each other, because Tim and I is also with our joint producer, if you will, Wes, are members of an awesome mastermind group, Megamind, and that's where we met. And that's probably, you look at silver linings and things. It's hard to find much of a silver lining with something like the whole COVID thing, right? I mean, it's pretty well sucks, right? But with that said, I don't know that you and I and Wes and Eric and a lot of us folks that hang out often together virtually right now probably would have met maybe without it, right? I don't know that we would have. We may have.
I would have bet against it. Thanks to a course that we joined with a well-known author, Jeffrey Gitomer. Out of that, the best thing that came out of that was a Facebook group, and the best thing that came out of that Facebook group was a gentleman named Eric Bam, who recognized there was 20 or so of us that were like-minded from the comments, and then instead of paying $3,000 for a mastermind course where you really wouldn't get into the weeds and really wouldn't get the support that you need, he branched out Megaminds, and it changed my year. I'll just be, just speaking about myself. We were up about 33 to 35% over the year before, even during COVID, and it kept me motivated to introduce me to new people, kept me motivated every single week to just keep going. I really don't know where we would be without the group of support of like-minded professionals that we have met through Megamind.
No, I think you're 100% right, and I remember, or I guess I say I feel the same way, because it was challenging for guys. You're used to having your team there in house with you in your beautiful facility. And I'm used to, as the old road warrior, part of my hybrid, the old road warrior to kind of the new way, and kind of still a work in progress, right? But all of a sudden, neither of us are doing as was nobody else. We're all thrown into this. What do we do? And I think that's a huge part of my figuring out, being more virtual, doing things like this, much more social media, more videos, all those things that we've talked about in the past. I don't know that would have happened without this group. I feel like I like to feel like I do a little ahead of the curve thinking, and I probably would have not just sat at home and did nothing. But I don't know that I know that I would not have went to near the level of things that I've done without this group. And it's not only the stuff we learned from each other, but it was the accountability. It was the crush and brag. It was the rah-rah. It was just everything combined, right? I mean, it was good for all of us. So. Oh,
no doubt. It's I think this, Randy, I think that, the pandemic brought out the best and the worst of people. And I'm not talking about, stealing toilet paper. I'm talking about in business. either you were willing to pivot. I hate to use that word. You were
Right.
either willing to look at things a different way, or you put your head in the sand and pretended like it wasn't happening. It was going to go away. And a lot of those people are out of business or waiting for
Mhm.
their $600 check.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. So, pivot or adjustments a good term, I know, because it's I talk about that often is adapting too, right? We all adapted, and if you didn't adapt, I always feel like adapters will win, and if you're a non-adapter, you may not win as much. You have to be an adapt. I'm not saying you just have to be an adapter. And one thing that came out of this for me, Tim, and I'm going to guess you feel the same way. A lot of the things that I adapted to that I'm doing differently now, that's going to be force multipliers for me and will continue to be, is important. But the most important thing is that I learned to adapt, and I learned to accept and expect and actually open arms for adaptation. Does that make sense? I mean,
Oh, it does. I mean, I remember you telling stories on either our Monday, goal setting calls or our Friday happy hours, talking about how some of the people in your own industry were refusing to go and do video, and B, were pissed off that you did it, which blows my mind. Take responsibility for what's all going on in your own life, right? But don't put your negativity on someone who's trying to do something different and then calling you out and saying, "Hey, man, you're making us look bad." That just blows my mind. Those
yeah.
people deserve to. I mean, the days of the 3 martini lunch are gone. As people are not going to be going back. Now, granted, I'm all about having a martini at lunch. Don't get me wrong, but sitting across from a prospect over lunch, has been over a year, and we were talking about it on the Penalty Box Live with Todd Collins, and you guys should watch that. He dropped some knowledge about how the days of having an office where you have to sit around a conference table and noodle over old ideas. He's never going back to it. And he just launched a new company. So, I think that's going to be, again, another one of my favorite lines, the new normal.
Yes, exactly. Well, and what I found is in my industry, the roofing industry that I'm, okay, right, Bam. 5 glasses of wine for lunch is normal lunch, right?
That's real. That's the food groups.
That's the food groups. It's grapes, but this industry that I'm involved with, and that that I'm kind of speaking to with this show, is a little more old school maybe than some. And so there's still and that's where I decided I needed to hybrid this thing, because when this thing started, Tim, I thought it was gonna be 2 or 3 weeks. Right? I think we all did, right? So what am I going to do for 2 or 3 weeks? I'll play around with a little of this, give me something to do, and then I'll go back to the road, right? But
right.
As time played out, not only did the realization settle in that going back 100% probably wasn't going to happen for who knows how long, and then the longer I got into it, the further I got into it, I realized that even if I could, I think there's better ways to do that. And so this industry, I don't think, is one that can be 100% virtual by any means. I mean, at some point, I need to go in and I think our buddy Eric called it the shrug or the chug or the shrug or whatever. You got to do the bro hug, right? You still got to go coffee and donuts and pizza lunch and brewskis and burgers after work. And we've talked about this. I've talked about this a couple times on the show already, but I think it's important that and that's where I coined the hybrid amazing, because why would you want to be amazing, right? But it's how do we combine old and new? And I think that's what you've done. And getting back to more with what you do a little bit, Tim, from a marketing standpoint, and that's kind of what I wanted to touch base. I just felt everybody ought to know Tim Lord, because everybody needs to know Tim Lord. What do you tell us a little bit about, maybe to the roofing, metal roofing, and the post frame building, the metal frame building construction industry? A little more old school maybe than some industries, even though I'm finding more and more people doing more virtual now than ever, obviously. But where do you see from a marketing agency? What do you see for my audience in general? Do we need to continue that adjustment? And I think you hit on it, but maybe even hit on it a little more if you'd like.
Sure.
We're going back to, I think it's safe to say, you and I agree, and I know Wes agrees, going back to getting rid of the mics and getting rid of the video and just going back to, traveling 7 days a week nonstop for the rest of my life is probably never going to happen.
Sure.
Nor should it, nor need it be. Is that true? And
well, let's just talk about it from a sales standpoint versus a marketing standpoint. We're all, when you boil it down, we're all salespeople, right?
Correct.
All right. You got to put the work in. I mean,
Exactly.
the numbers don't lie, whatever cliche you want to throw at it. So the people that were putting the work in, going out, shaking hands, signing contracts, going to lunch, traveling here to there, that now are struggling, they need to put the work in to adjust to this new way of doing business. Now, will we ever go back to the way it was? No. Will we come close to it? Yeah. But then think about it. If you put the work in, and like you have, and a lot of us in the Megamind group and a lot of other people that I know have put the work into making it happen in a new way. If it does go back, you're just a step ahead of it. So if you're not willing to put the work in it, from a sales standpoint, and when I say sales, marketing yourself in some way, whether it be social posts on LinkedIn, whether it be email blasts going out to your people, talking about what's news going on, asking what I call the 10 and 10 frequently asked questions, and the 10 should ask questions. If you have the answers to both of those, you have a marketing strategy, right? Think about it. You can take the 10 frequently asked questions in your industry, no matter what it is, and then take the 10 questions that your people should be asking you. And out of those 20 answers, you have 6 months worth of content that you can put out on social media, in your email blasts, in your LinkedIn posts, even in your LinkedIn bios. The point is this: if you're not willing to do anything, then you're not going to do anything. It is what it is, and I don't feel bad. I feel bad. No, I feel bad for. I feel bad for people in the restaurant industry, in the events industry, that really have been really stifled by the government when things are going the way they are. And this isn't a political show, so we won't go down that road. But even those industries, and we have a friend, Brian Monahan, who is in the Megamind group, and he also is in the event space. They've had to work around how to figure things out and still stay in business. So yeah, again, if you're not willing to do the work, any kind of work, then you're a lemming, and you're waiting for someone else to make the decisions for you. I'm not that person.
Exactly. And I think, we've always saw throughout history, whether it was way back in the day, boy, we're dating ourselves, when we went from just pay phones to pagers, right? And we went pagers to cell phones. And I remember I used to have the little bag phone. Did you ever have one of those?
I did.
Had the little bag phone. And I remember when I got that, I called it, and I didn't pay attention to, I think it was Cellular One, or somebody was the
Yep,
carrier.
Cellular One, right.
And I didn't really read the fine print particularly, because I didn't realize how expensive it was then, right? I mean, minutes are nothing compared to what it used to be, right? And so when I remember I first got it, I was calling everybody. I was saying, "Hey, this is Randy. I'm calling you from my car," because I thought it was cool.
Right.
And until I realized that my 300 minutes were up, and I had to buy more for like $9,000, or it was just it was nuts. It's
all changed. I mean, think about the way even the cable industry has changed. Like, give you an example. Now that people are cutting the cord and they're going to Hulu's of the world and Netflix of the world, the cable industry is suffering. So they took a page out of the cell phone industry, and Comcast is going to be selling you packages of streaming time, just like you did with your cell phone. So people, even in the corporations, are pivoting around what is next. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think the key there is what we've came through in the last 10, 11 months or whatever is we've learned to adjust. And I think we've learned that we know we need to adjust and adapt. And I think you hit on a minute ago and said it quite well, is that but he who doesn't adjust is going to get farther and farther behind. You're just going to have to adjust. And somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, so when we can go back to normal, and which we already talked about, we're not, but some sort of normalcy, closer. I think you had a moving closer to what used to be the old way, the visits and some of those things, which we will do. I think it's a moving target all the time, right? Because if tomorrow this thing was all fixed, gone, everything's perfect tomorrow, I would probably go almost 100% zero to travel for a little bit, because there's people that I haven't seen in a while, right? And people that I need to see. But the key though is that by doing what we've all done, and I think the message today is if you're doing some, do more. If you've done none, do some. If you've done a bunch, even do more. Yeah. But if you do this now, you don't have to go so far back later. You're already in the new world, because the new world's going to be here to some form, right? And so if you wait until we're going to go back to the quote old normal, if you will, what are you going to do when the old normal doesn't come back?
Well, here's the deal. All right. So I think I want to be clear about, the pandemic and the people have died and the people that are sick. And it's unbelievable. It hits home to a lot of people that I love.
Zero doubt.
Anyway, so I got a secret to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad this happened from a business standpoint only. Because of COVID, I now here in New Hampshire have relationships and clients in Iowa, San Antonio, Los Angeles, Orlando. There's one other that I'm forgetting. Oh, and New York City, all of which I would have never met if this had not happened. I think that I want to look at it as an opportunity. I want to look at it as it's a good day. It's a new day. Every single day is a blessing from our Creator, and we just keep plugging along. And yes, we're well aware that people are getting shots, and we're doing the things that we need to do to move on. Enough.
Right.
Enough. Let's just talk about what's next. It's exciting. I'm not a huge reader. I now have, looking up a bookcase, I now have like 8 books from people that I have met online through interviews, through Megamind, through whatever. And these people are smarter than I am, and I'm going to learn something and take a little bit of what they've taught me and a little bit of what I'm learning and put it into that bullet into my gun. And I'm going to go hunting. And that's, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm in love with the new version of us.
Exactly. So when we talk about hunting, and I love that term because I like to use the phrase, and not everybody gets it, but being a wind hunter, the hunter of winds, right? That's what we do. We hunt winds.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And as a matter of fact, I think we're born and designed to hunt winds, right?
Sure.
And but in fact, what you just hit on is, I also found that I have more time to spend with customers when I'm not traveling all the time. I work every bit as much. I probably work more hours now sometimes, true work, because when I get done with this show, is the same as you'll do, and the same that Wes will do. We're going to instantly jump on the next thing.
We're going to take a nap.
Jump on a Zoom. We're going to jump on a phone call. We're going to jump on whatever. I might go get lunch, but
right.
But my point is, I'm not jumping in a car after sitting in your office, which would have been good to do, but in driving 3 hours to the next stop, right? And so I found that my amount of work I accomplish in a day has been magnified by, I don't know, 10x probably.
Sure.
Once I adapted, because believe me, I've become pretty good at adapting now, which I'm kind of happy about. The first 2 weeks of this whole thing, and I still remember the day, it was March 17th. I did this Tulsa to Fort Myers all day event trying to get home. And I came home with the idea that, I guess we're going to be stuck home for 2 weeks. And I've been like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 11 weeks, 5-6 days, just bang, 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 hard weeks. Nothing I'm not used to. So I will admit the first week or two, I kind of probably looked a little vacation time, right?
Sure.
Hang out and can't go anywhere. So, well, but then when the reality struck that this might go longer, that's when it struck me that there may be actually a better way to do this. And I never looked at it, and I know you didn't either. And that's my point is, I think, and if you haven't done it yet, there's still time. But if we take the good out of it, and like you said it very well, nobody wanted this to happen. People that got sick, people that died. It's all bad. But it was what it was. And it is what it is.
Yep.
And so it's up to us individually to extract out of that what we can to make ourselves better. And that's what you've done with work, setting up working remotely. That's what I've been doing, a lot of things that I'm doing. And I see more and more people that like Reuben Miller with Triad, it was on my show last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think it was. He talked about the changes he's making, right? And how you have to address. And if you just sit and wait for it just to change or just to go back, then you're going to wake up one day when it, quote, went back, except for where it went back to is not where you were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Eric just made a comment that, it pushed what people would be doing 8 to 12 years into the future. And absolutely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it comes down to this. If you're not willing to do it, then don't. Nothing that we can do, that we can say today on this show to anyone who may see it now or in the future that is going to change their mind. It sucked. We get it. Let's move on.
Right.
It's new. It's exciting. I was in Las Vegas. I was on a cruise in February. I came back for 2 weeks, went to Las Vegas and played golf. And then the world ended and changed when I was out there. And there were 20 people on the plane on the way back. I think I told you that story.
Right.
But when I got back, I was concerned about making payroll for my people.
Sure.
We lost out of the gate. We lost 5 retainer clients. And what are you going to do? Take them to court because they canceled their contract with you? No. I mean, they have their own problems too. And guess what? They all came back because we said, we get it. Yep. We're here for you when you're ready to come back. Right. And so the goal that I would say to your viewers, the people that might be the people that are reselling your products, are become a true partner with your customer. They'll never go anywhere else.
Right.
They don't give a reason to.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's the thing we learned. We've all learned, I think, to probably become much better relationship people over this last time or over this last 8, 10, 12 months. And that only serve us well going forward. So,
right. And we can all learn something. I mean, I learned something today on the penalty box with Todd Collins, with Evan Carmichael last week, reading a book, 17, meeting all the people. If your mind is closed to learning new things, then there's nothing that can change that. You learn new things, you move on, you produce a good product, and you help your clients reach their goals, not your goals for them, whatever right. Their goals are.
Exactly. So awesome. So anything that you want to, because we're up to about 30 minutes and we can do one or two things. If you want to take a couple minutes and because I would like you to maybe just let our our folks know some things that you do at Boston Impressions in case there's anybody that could ever use, or we could bump out here and spend 5-10 minutes on an added wins, which would you
Let's
prefer?
do an added wins. That's fine. I think anyone that goes to my website can see what we do. We don't need this to be a commercial about what I do.
No.
I just think that the basics, stay in touch with your clients, be out there. I think Eric has preached it since we became Mega Minders is, post about your family, about your employees, and then yourself last, meaning your business. Todd spoke about it today on our show about getting people to recognize this, not so much what your offering is. Everything doesn't have to be a sale. It doesn't have to be a sale,
And I love that point. So let's do an added win, because I want to talk about that and maybe real quick your impressions. We don't have to go all day because you got stuff to do. But hey, Barry, thanks for coming on, brother. So why don't we do that? If you got 10 minutes, we'll pop on out of here and we'll come back with Wes and because I'm going to talk about that. You just hit something that struck me is about when we go virtual, you got to be who you are. You got to be the person that they'll see when we go back to see them in person, right? And I think that and everything else. So let's do that, Tim. But officially on the live, Building Wins Live today, thank you. You're a gentleman and a scholar, as they say, and it's one of the great blessings that came out of this is meeting you, and you've become a good friend and a brother, and thank you for being on. You bring some great stuff to me personally into the group, and some good insight today. So thank you, and we'll pop on out here. We'll meet up backstage, and
I have one question for you before you go, Randy.
Yes.
Who's on next week?
Next week is actually, go ahead and stay up here. We'll do that right now. Next week is Tyler and Chris Loading. They are with Jensen Bridges Supply. Look at that. Look at that. What? Okay. See, here's the problem. Well, let me tell you first. There's no problem first. Leave them up there for a minute, Wes. Next week, you're going to love this, folks, because Chris and Ty are brothers. I've known them for years. They're young guys, as you can tell. And they are actively involved now running a business. It's a family business that's been around forever called Jensen Bridge and Supply. And next week, you're going to find out why the name Bridge, which would tend to be weird in our industry because I'm in the metal roofing world and post-frame building world, but they'll talk about that. But we're going to talk next week about family business and how they took over from their dad, who I know well. Chris and I and Ty go way back. We've spent a lot of time together at trade shows and in other places. These guys are young guns, aggressive, but calm at the same time. You're going to love their story. So they're going to be on next week on Building Wins Live on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. What do you think of that? And
I can't wait to see it.
The bad thing about having them on is that they're, usually if it's just me and Wes, I'm only the second best looking guy on the show. Then we bring you on, and now I'm the third. Now I get these two guys on. There's like no hope.
What your viewers don't understand is that Randy is walking halfway to China at this point. I thought to myself, I'm gonna get going with some exercise, and then I thought to myself, well, it's cold, so I can't walk, and the elliptical bores the hell out of me. So I bought a Peloton, and that's coming in about 8 weeks. But Randy has got close to 300 miles already walked in January. That is just amazing. So my hat's off to you. For
either amazing or dumb, but
you clearly don't want to spend any time with the Dixie chick. That is absolutely,
or maybe I'm just doing her a favor.
Sounds good, man.
All right, brother. We'll see you backstage in a minute.
All right,
folks,
sounds good.
Thanks for tuning in today to Building Wins Live. I hope you enjoyed Tim. Remember to share this out and catch it on on Memorex, if you will. If you know what that means, then you're probably closer to my age. So that's it for the day. Remember, Chris and Tyler next week on Building Winds Live, 12 noon Eastern time. There they are. And for now, remember this. You get one go around in this big old world. So live it, love it, and own it. Make this your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, y'all.